What's your thoughts on that?
Mixed. When I first arrived, there were very few shootings, and I worked for the city, and I enjoyed my work, and I felt we were on the right track. I worked for the Mayor Washington campaign, and and stop Mr. Hepson for saying, Chicago, vote for me before it's too late, like the town was going to fall into the lake if we were voting for Washington. And so anyhow, I worked a lot in these communities of the South Side, and I really love them. But now with all the shootings and the armed trafficking, and I don't like it at all. And I think we need to have this city under control. I don't feel that it is. Yeah. I have a problem with my hearing aid. Excuse me. And okay.
If I can ask you, when did you join Beverly Unitarian, and what's made you stay a member?
I met this very wonderful person, Rita Mitchell, who was UU, and she gave me some brochures about the UU Church. At the time, my former husband was a Baptist, did not like the Catholic Church, and I did not like it either, so we did not want to join the Catholic Church, and I went to several Baptist churches, and there was too much theater for me. So, so when we read the brochures and we came here and we became a member in 1973. Yeah. So what made you join the BUC, Emily?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a woman on the Zoom today. Her name is Jantina Clegg. I call her Tina. But I lived with her for like 2 months when I first moved to Chicago. It was a really kind of fast transition move here, and so I needed a place to live. Okay, hopefully that's better. Is it red? Okay, we should be in business. You're good. And Jantina goes to the Park Forest Unitarian Church. And growing up on the East Coast, I wasn't really sure of Unitarian Universalism. And so I was at a point in my life where a more liberal faith tradition was what I was looking for. And I went to church with her and had a really good time. And I happened to settle in Beverly, and there was a church in a castle, and you can't really go wrong. So, yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay, and were you always a UU, or did you have? Do you come from other religion? When you were younger.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I was raised Protestant, I guess you could say. My parents were in the Presbyterian church, and then we went to a non-denominational church, and I was a pretty active believer. My parents are pretty religious, per se, in the Christian faith. And I went to a school that was Disciples of Christ, which is a Midwest denomination. And so, yeah, I've made my way around different denominations, and I hope to stay far away from those ones. So, yeah.
Do you believe in God? What is important to you in your life? What are your values?
That's a really hard question to answer. I think, if I'm going to be honest, in my today version of me, I really don't like the God that I grew up with, that was the very masculine, dominating, I'm the man, I have all the authority and power, and you're wrong. I don't like that. I think I do have some sort of explanation for purpose, but I don't know what to call it. I'm kind of in that discovery phase. I really do think living by my personal values is kind of how I orient my life now. I really care about service. I think too, like the social justice version of Jesus, the social gospel of Jesus, and that's kind of where I lead my faith, if you could call it faith, into doing good works with others, and trying to be of service. I think, and making sure we're all rising together and not just some over others. I think that's kind of where my faith is at today. Yeah. And what about your belief system, Francois, as you see it today?
No, I am an agnostic. I became an agnostic, I believe, at 8 years of age. I was in the Catholic Church, and the nuns and the priest were saying how terrible divorcees are. And my mother was a divorcee, and I was thinking, oh, they're totally wrong. My mother is not like that. I took it very personal. And so, I stopped going to church, and they could not come to church with me. So I went to church by myself. That was not fun. Yeah, I as soon as I could leave the Catholic Church, after my communion, age 13, I left and never went back. And I have absolutely no regrets. I believe that there is a very powerful force out there. I look at myself, and you're looking at me, and while I'm talking to you, my heart is beating all by itself. My lungs are, working all by themselves. My kidneys, the blood is circulating. I have absolutely nothing to do with it. Even if I wanted to stop it, I could not, unless I commit suicide, which I don't want to do. So really, I have a very small amount of control over what I am, what I do. I control my mind, I hope, but really, the main functions happen all by themselves, or something else, the instinct. I don't know what it is. It's a force, and get me getting up in the morning, running around, doing what I got to do, and I'm in awe every time I think about it. Okay, what are your passions, Emily?
My passions. I really love to walk, if that can be a passion. I really love to read. I like to be of service with people. I like to spend time in nature. I would say those are kind of key things about me that I'm really passionate about. Yeah. So something I learned about Francoise when I asked her what is something that she considers the most adventurous part about herself. So I wanted to pose that in front of the group.
What did I say? I forgot.
There may have been a camel involved.
Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, really? No, I thought the most adventurous thing I did was not only to ride a camel, but certainly to come to Chicago, not knowing anybody, but, this Prince Charming, and that turned into a frog. No, he was a Prince Charming. So that was a big adventure for me. But yeah, I did ride a camel. I forgot about that. I love to travel, so I did travel a lot. That was one of my passions. I like to walk, and I like to read also. So something we have in common. And I love to travel. What do you do for a living, Emily?
So I work for a housing nonprofit. I do, it's called Fair Housing Investigations. I send out mystery shoppers to act like they're going to go rent an apartment and see if they're treated the same based on their protected class, which could be for race, it could be for their national origin, could be for their gender identity. So if you're a landlord out there, I might be coming at your door soon. Just kidding, it's all in love. But yeah, it's really good work. My housing agency did a lot of the COVID-19 rental and mortgage relief, so I got to work with a lot of clients doing that. So yeah, we're trying to make sure everyone has a house to live in. So that's what I spend my days doing. And I know we had an intersection. You worked in social justice work in Chicago, so if you want to share a little bit about that.
Actually, when I arrived at the Commission on Human Relations in 1991, there were boycotts of merchants, foreign merchants, mostly Koreans and Arabs, in the inner city. Boycotts by African American consumers. And the mayor did not want, at the time, this was Mayor Daley, he did not want any boycotts anywhere in Chicago, when there were plenty of them in the South Side. So I inherited all the boycotts, and I had to go and go out there and, stop them and negotiate, peace and harmony back in the neighborhood. So that's what I did. Yeah. So a lot of community work, yeah, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Okay. Is this a job for you, or is it a career you're interested in housing rights?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I went to college and studied business, believe it or not. Can't believe I did that, but I'm here to this day. I did a service year post-graduate in college that was focused on finding work in a social mission and spiritual exploration. And I was sent to Spokane, Washington with 3 random strangers, and we all lived in a house. I worked at a fair housing agency in Washington State. And so that's kind of what opened my eyes to housing work. Before I was aware that people didn't have access to homes and the crisis of houselessness, but I wasn't aware of like the discriminatory impacts of housing. And so I really wanted to stay in Washington, but there was no work. And so I happened to apply for a job in Chicagoland and never expected to be here, but here I am. I think I would like to navigate more towards client work, and maybe I'm in the steps to do that, but for right now, I'm where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, this was definitely a career which I enjoyed greatly, and I found out there were a lot of very good people in the Chicago neighborhoods, in the inner city, and that's what really kept me going. And I enjoy every minute of it. So I was very fortunate to have this experience. It was a career. What do you do when you are not working? What are your hobbies?
Feels like we should make a music album with this. When I'm not working, I volunteer a lot. Have a hard time saying no. I do ESL tutoring. I do a Tai Chi class. I do a meditation group here. And I like to spend time in nature. Yesterday, I went kayaking at Starved Rock. So, shameless plug, you guys should go. What about you, Francois?
I like reading, I like writing, I like traveling, I like nature. I spend a lot of time with my family. I enjoy them. Um, so yeah, that's what I do. Mhm. Um, what are your heroes? The people that you admire?
Wonderful. Heroes. I think there's a lot of people who I really admire. Tina Clegg, she's one of the key ladies in my life who I think is definitely a personal hero of mine. And she always teaches me to spend life with joy. She's never having a bad day. I mean, she has them, but she's a great human being. I have a sister who also is intellectually disabled. And I just got to spend the week with her last week, and she's recently learned to text. And I think that's like an inspiration too, just overcoming a lot of things that I guess people would say that she wouldn't learn to do. She just like one day was like puttering around, and every once in a while I get these, cryptic texts that I can understand because, she's my sister. My former coworkers in Washington, just as human beings, Shannon Bedard, she used to teach me, I was always in a crisis of like, what do I want to do with my life, right? That eternal question. And she'd always be like, who do you want to become first is more the question. And then it's like, what do you want to do with that? And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there who inspire me and I would consider to be heroes in my life. And what about you?
I admire Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, my father, yeah. And then, I met a lot of people. I'm thinking about one of my volunteers, Mr. Norwood. There were a lot of conflict with the kids, in his school in the east side, South Chicago. And this man developed a little program, peer counseling, and he had kids, coming together and teaching. He had a training of conflict resolution. And after the training, whenever there was a conflict, the peer counselor were trained to listen to one, listen to the other, bring the two together, and they were doing, and this man did this all by himself with the support of the teachers and the principal. But truly, it was quite a piece of work. He was a postal worker, and he retired, and that was his contribution. It was a very nice contribution. Yeah. So this is just one example of some of these extraordinary things that are happening in the neighborhood. But yeah, really had a lot of admiration for him. Mm-hmm. What are the issues that are preoccupying you, the main issues?
Right. Racial capitalism, women in prison, men in prison, LGBT rights, housing, any social justice related situation in our society. I think lack of access to education. I mean, the list goes on. And that's what my coffee table is, just piled high of books of issues that are going on. Yeah, I think about things a lot. And I'm really, really focused on the housing, but housing intersects education, health, wealth, access to transportation, access to jobs, right? Which are all social issues within themselves, mental health. I mean, it's just all kind of in a hurricane. So if we don't see that, then, you can't fix housing without fixing all the other things. So those are things I think about all the time. Yeah.
Okay, well,
If I can ask you my final question, because I can ask a million questions and I think there's so much depth to you. What is something that inspires you today? What inspires you to wake up and smile and get out there and keep going?
today I thought I better, get myself together to be here and talk in front of everybody. So I had to look for my glasses, and of course I don't fit very well. I should have taken care of this the last months, and my hearing aids and my paper. And but it's a beautiful day, and this is inspiring me. And we are very lucky to be near the Great Lakes and to have a beautiful summer. And, I see what's going on in California, Texas, even the East Coast, and I'm like, wow, we're really lucky. We have near this huge body of water, and it's cooling. Probably there's an exchange of temperature. The lake is usually about 40 degrees, and so the lake is probably going to get warmer, but that's another issue. So, we are. I consider myself very lucky. Yeah, blessed. I have a Catholic friend. Now she's religious. She said, "You are blessed, Francoise. You are very blessed." So I have adopted this for myself. I'm really blessed. Whoever is blessing me. So, So what is inspiring you today?
I think what's inspiring me today, like you said, it's a beautiful day, so you can't be mad about that. I think getting to be with other people who care about the world, and I think that inspires me to keep pushing on the days that are really hard or where you come up against barriers. And I think just the work ahead. It's inspiring. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be with us, and yeah.